The Minnesota Vikings finally made a decision about Sam Darnold and the franchise tag. But did they make the right one? Let's talk about it. The Minnesota Vikings finally had to make the decision on Sam Darnold. The franchise tag date was looming, and it has passed, and the Vikings have decided not to place the franchise tag on Sam Darnold, which would have been slightly over $40 million. Now, they could have done the transition tag at $35 million if they really wanted to be able to match any potential contract that a team would offer, but they decided not to. Now, what has been reported, as has been consistent throughout the entirety of the offseason, that the Vikings do want to bring him back. They also wanted to bring Kirk Cousins back last year. They're going to give Sam Darnold an offer, and it's going to be like, hey, come back, or you can go somewhere else. We're comfortable either way. We want you back, but we also understand this is a business, and you need to do what's best for you. Did that with Kirk Cousins. He gets 4 years, 180 from the Atlanta Falcons, when the deal the Vikings offered was slightly less than 2 years, $80 million. Now, when it comes to Sam Darnold and the franchise tag, the whole conversation is like, well, why not a tag and trade? Like, you should be able to get something for him. It's a little more complicated than that. One, you have to have teams that will be willing to give you draft pick compensation while also paying him a market level contract, which could be $40 to $50 million per year. We don't know what he's going to end up with, but we know it's going to be substantial because he earned it after his play this past season. One of the tough parts here is, what would a team be willing to offer? If a team's willing to give you a 4th round pick, you don't worry about the tag and trade. Why? Because then it hinders your ability to really maximize the beginning of free agency, which is where all the heavy hitting names are. They want to bring in guys like Javon Holland, re-sign Byron Murphy Jr. They want to make those kind of moves, and you cannot do that. You cannot do that if you have $40 million sitting on your cap just waiting to trade. It becomes a hindrance. 2, a 4th round pick is not going to be better than a compensatory 3rd round pick that you get next year for him. 3, they probably didn't have a market. That's the big thing. We think about these tag and trades like, oh, you can do it no matter what. Sure, Devontae Adams got a 1st and a 2nd round pick a couple years ago from the Las Vegas Raiders. They also were trading for Derek Carr's former college teammate at 30 years old. Jarvis Landry got a 4th and a 7th a few years back. But the only quarterback to ever be successfully tagged and traded, Matt Castle. 2 2nd round picks went to the New England Patriots, and I believe Mike Vrabel went back to the Kansas City Chiefs at the age of 34. Now, when it comes to tag and trade, we think of it, oh, it should be easy because we do it on Madden. That's how our brains are wired. We think it's just an easy thing. Tag and trades sometimes work. They sometimes don't. How do we know if they're going to work or not? They have those discussions at the combine. And you know what? If you can make it work, that's great. And I guarantee if they were able to get a 2nd round pick, that tag would have been on him pretty quickly. There is the other factor of, well, you're doing wrong by the player, especially after all your comments about how Sam has earned the right to test free agency, but that's a whole nother story. When it comes down to brass tacks, it's pretty clear the Vikings just did not have a deal worthwhile to make it so they should franchise tag him. We're not going to be able to get enough in the trade. And you know what? That's okay. Now the Vikings can get that compensatory 3rd round pick next year and find a way to make it happen with this year's free agency class and make that Super Bowl run that this fan base has been begging and craving for the entirety of the Minnesota Vikings. I'm Tyler Forness with A to Z Sports. Skol Vikings.